Hello everyone. So in today's video, we will create our own chatbot solution using NoCodeBackend as a database, and we'll be using Straico so as to use the LLM models here, and we will use Lovable to create our front end and integrate with our NoCodeBackend APIs. So this will be a kind of solution or a real time project that you can actually use to start selling as well. You can use it as a SaaS tool, which you can as well start selling or provide services to your own end users. So first of all, we will set up a database inside NoCode backend. So inside Notion, I have created a blueprint of what I want to use, or like how I want to set up my uh, chatbot database. So these will be the steps here. So again, it all depends on what you are developing at your end, and it all boils down to your own requirements. So right now, I want to create a chatbot solution, something like, let's say, Chatbase, right? But it will not be too comprehensive. I just want to show you like what kind of tools we can develop using NoCode backend and any other tools which we already have access to. So let's first of all set up a database called Chatbot database. So just copy this. I'll go to NoCode backend and I'll start setting up a database here. Or let's use AI itself. So I'll say let's create a database called Chatbot database. Now there are basically two important things we need to take care of first of all. So these are authentication, okay, and the second thing here is to setting up the actual chatbots. For authentication, we need to first of all create a table called user authentication or user auth with name, email, and password. And for chatbots, we need to create these many of columns so as to store the details of the chatbot that a user creates. And finally, we need to set up something where we can store our Straico API key and to integrate with our chatbot solution. Okay, so the next thing here is we have to create a table called user auth. So I can basically simply copy this. So I can simply copy this, and let me go back here, and I can simply paste this here. Okay, now again, I want to create a table called chatbots. I can simply copy this entire sentences here. This is the use of AI. Okay, so it is actually copying the checkbox as well. Simply remove this. Okay, so create a table called user auth, and it should then it should create a table called chatbots with these many of columns. Okay, so let me go over it once more. So we want to create a table called chatbots. It should contain the columns name, bot name, the description of the chatbot, created by means basically who created this, and the date of the creation. Here we are going to create an actual RAG chatbot who will understand the data that a user provides to it. So what we are going to use here is files. We will allow our end user to upload their files, and the chatbot will understand those files, will be trained on those files to answer any kind of user queries. Okay, and it will be having an avatar. Okay, so we'll need to provide an avatar URL to provide the avatar of the chatbot, and there will be a welcome message as well, and finally a RAG ID. So I will go through what RAG ID is in later discussions, because RAG ID is actually related to Straico API key. So when we are going to integrate Straico API, we will go through their documentation, and their RAG ID will be taken care of. Okay, so rag ID is coming from Straico. Okay, so but our chatbot needs to store this rag ID, so I'm introducing rag ID here itself. Okay, now we need to set up another table as well to store our Straico API key. So I'll just copy this here and paste this. So need to create another table called settings. So we will store Straico API key inside a table called settings. Okay, now let's click on magic create. Now what's happening is the AI is actually setting up our database, and at the same time it's generating the APIs for the same as well. Okay, so the API has been generated successfully. Let's let's generate a secret key. So this is our instance that has been generated, and I'll click on generate. All right, so our secret key has been generated. I'll copy this and let's test this out. Let me open the API documentation as well, which has been created for us. So it's loading right now. Already, so our API documentation is also ready. So you can see how comprehensive it is. And everything is actually happening dynamically. We are not creating any kind of documentation manually here. We just gave a prompt, and NoCodeBackend went ahead and set up a database as well as the APIs as well for the same. Now, first of all, let's authorize this with our secret key that we just copied, and I'll authorize this. Let's close this out. Let's see. Let's test this out to create a chatbot. Okay, and before creating a chatbot, we want to test the user auth. Okay, so this was the first thing we need to do, right? We have to first of all perform the authentication. So once a user gets authenticated, then only he should be able to access the dashboard and create chatbots. So I'll test the user auth here. I'll try it out. Let's give it a name as test user 1. Okay, email is test1@test.com. Password is 123456. I'll click on execute. It says success. That means our user auth table is actually working fine. Now this is all to actually test our APIs here, but we will be creating a UI inside Lovable, which is just similar to bolt.io, or I think bolt.new is the website name, but we'll be using Lovable to design our UI and integrate these APIs there to set up a user authentication system like a registration page and login page there. Now let's read as well. I mean, who all are the users? So this API will actually act as a registration page for us, right? So when a user enter their details like name, email, and password and click register, so this API call should run. Okay, so this is how you actually think about using these tools, right? This is not just to like you will create an API, just start testing these APIs here. You have to think like how you are going to actually use this inside real-time applications, okay, inside your own UI. Now let's read this out, like which users are there. So there should be just one user. If I click execute, and this is what we just created, right? And we are just getting that same user back when we call this API endpoint. Okay, so how this API can be integrated inside of our front end. So let's say when a person enters or opens the login page and they insert their email and password, then we should actually call this API and it will retrieve all the users, and if the email and password matches with what the user has entered on the login page, then the user will be authenticated. All right. I mean, we can think something like that, but there are other ways as well to authenticate user. But let's see how we are going to design this inside our front end. Okay. So similarly, we can create chatbots as well, and they will all work here. So our APIs right now are working fine. This is all I wanted to test this out here. So I'll again come back to this API documentation in a while. Now, the other thing here is, let's go inside Lovable. So this is Lovable, and this will help us create our front end, and it will help us set up our integrations with NoCodeBackend as well. Okay, so now we can start designing our application here. So I'll simply say, let's set up, or let's create a chatbot builder tool. The user can sign up and access their dashboard. They can create, delete, and update their chatbots. Okay. User can create a chatbot with a name, description. Okay. And then I want the user to be able to train that chatbot. Can train the chatbot with files. It should be PDF files or CSV files, TXT files, docs files. Okay, so these would be the allowed file types I want the user to be able to upload to the chatbot. Okay, so let's have this right now. This is a basic structure we want to have. Now I think I just entered here. Anyway, I think I just gave this as a prompt already. It is now already working out. Actually, I wanted to integrate APIs in the first step itself, but never mind. We'll just integrate our APIs in the upcoming prompts that we'll provide. But let's see how it's working right now. So I will pause this for a second or for a minute until all the files are generated by Lovable. Okay, I think it has completed all the files, and we have some build errors. Okay, so I'll just ask Lovable to fix it. Right, so I think all the files are generated without any errors now. Let's open this in a new window. Okay, great. So it has generated a landing page for us, and I get a sign in page and a sign up page as well. So okay, return to home. So it's look really beautiful right now. And okay, so we have sign in and sign up, but they all are not working. This is just a UI, but such an amazing UI we have got. Okay. Now let's integrate these sign in and sign up pages with our API. So I'll go back to Lovable here, and now I'll ask it to integrate. So let me go back to our API documentation. So this was for the user auth, and I'll just copy this curl command and go back to Lovable. Now I ask it to integrate with our API. So for the user registration, for the below curl command, when the user registers, okay, so this is the curl command, okay, and so these were the values that we use, but it should be like the values inside the registration form. Local command when the user registers, so it will understand by itself, okay. And after successful registration, a successful registration means if I just go back to the API documentation, we will get this response back, right? We get a status of success. I'll just copy this entire response body and just let Lovable know like what kind of response we get. We'll get below response from the above curl command. So if the status is success, then redirect the user to the dashboard page. Also display the user's name on the top right. Okay, let me remove this thing. Okay, so what we are saying is let's integrate the registration page with our below curl command, and if the response is success, which means the user entry is successfully inserted inside our inside our database, then redirect the user to the dashboard page and also display the name of the user on the dashboard. Let's hit enter and see how it works out. So it's, I think in the backend it is making the code changes and integrating with our APIs. This is such an amazing thing to watch, like how AI is actually working out for you. We just provided the APIs and it is now working out for the same. I have updated the registration process. Okay, let's see if it works or not. Let me open this again. So it's loading. Okay, so I think we have integrated sign up page. Let's see if it works or not. So let's say I want to add here as user 2, email as user2@test.com, and password is, let's say, love lovable 1234. So this is the password that I have added, lovable 1234. Okay, let's see if it works out or not. All right, so I think user has been registered, and I think these are some dummy chatbots which Lovable has created for us. I mean, we do not want this, so it'll remove everything, and it will all be based on our own database. Let's see what has been created for us, and this is awesome. You can see the username is registered These details are all coming now from from our database, right? So if I just go back to Swagger documentation and let's read this out, let's see how many users are now available inside our dashboard. Now there should be two users, one that we created initially and the second we just created inside our UI. And you can see user 2 has been added to our database. So this is how easy it is to integrate our APIs. We just have to create the APIs and rest all these awesome AI tools like Lovable and Bolt can do these integrations for us. Now, what we have seen right now so far is we were able to set up the APIs and we have integrated the API for sign up page. So the registration process is all sorted now. Now we have to look out for the login pages and then how to create a new chatbot from scratch. Right now, these are all the dummy data or placeholder data which we are seeing. It will not work in any way. Okay. If I just click on create new, it will give me this UI, but it will not store any data because we haven't integrated any APIs for this, right? But you can see how amazing the UI has come for us, and we'll update everything here. Okay, now let's okay, so if I just go to dashboard, wow, so I'm actually really loving the UI that has just come up here. Okay, now for the sign in part or for the login part, what we want to use here is this is the authentication. This is the API endpoint which will actually provide us with all the users, right? So just simply copy this curl command which has been generated. So this curl command will only be generated when you just test this out. When you test this out, you get a curl command generated for that particular API endpoint. And it becomes easy to, just provide the entire direct curl command to the Lovable. Just like, okay, it works. Now let's do the same for sign in page as well. Use below curl command. Check if the sign in details are correct. The above curl command will give all the list of users. Curl command will give all the list of users. And what the logic here should be, it should match the email and password with the list of users we'll get from the curl command against the email and password which a user enters in the sign-in page. So if everything matches as it is, then just simply redirect the user or authorize the user to access the dashboard. So the above curl command will give the list of all the users, okay, along with their email and along with their name, email and password. Simply match it against the email and password provided on the sign-in page. If it matches, then authorize the user to access their dashboard. All right. Okay. So this is what we have told. Now let me give just more context, like what kind of response this API will give. So this is a kind of response. So I'll just copy this, and below is the kind of response you will get from the above curl command Let's hit enter and see how it works. And I'm not sure what this error is coming out from. Let me close this and see how it works out here. So it is now doing its magic. It's integrating with our API for the sign-in functionalities. All right, this was quite fast. And let's test it here itself. If I just sign in here, let me enter any dummy email. Let's say dummy@test.com. Just enter any password. So it should not authenticate. It should give some kind of validation error. I click sign in. Invalid email or password, which is exactly what I wanted. Now let's enter the correct email address. User2 was the email, I guess, and I'm not sure. I think the password was, I think, Lovable 1234. I think this was a correct password. Let me just cross check here. Okay, so L is capital. Okay, but let's test with the small l. Okay, so it just refresh again. Let me open this in this new window itself where it will not keep on refreshing. Okay, so let's log out here and let me sign in. So user2@test.com, Lovable 1234. I'm using small l. Let's see if it works or not. It should not work because the L should be capital. So this is fine. This is what I wanted. It should not work. Now, if I make this as capital L, it should now work fine. So if I click on sign in and amazing, it has actually authenticated the user. And now we are actually accessing our dashboard. So this is the user. So this is the correct dashboard that we have been redirected to. So congratulations, we have successfully implemented the user authentication system here through simply creating a table called users and managing all our users there, right? So the authentication is now all successfully set up. The next part here is, so I can simply tick this as fine. Okay, so authentication is now set up. Though we have already set up the database, basically the table for chatbots and columns as well, everything is done. But now we want to actually test this functionalities out. Okay, now if I just go back to our API documentation, now comes the part to actually create a chatbot. Okay, so I want to get a curl command to create a new chatbot here. Okay, so let me test this out. So bot name I can give as bot1. My first bot created by will be the email user, the email of the user who actually creates this. Okay. So there is some kind of logic we have to use, like the created by should be the current user's email address. So for right now, let me enter here manually user2@gmail.com or @test.com. Created is as it is. Files, keep it as string here. We will have to manage this logic inside Lovable. So we will let Lovable to make sure the files is a file selector or a file picker field where we can upload our files. Avatar URL, again, it should be a string value, and welcome message can be also a string value. It can be like a welcome message. I can just give it as it is. The rag ID will come from Straico API key when we are going to integrate the Straico. But right now we just want to test this API endpoint right now. So I'll click on execute. So it is all working fine. So this API is fine. We have got the curl command which we wanted. Now I'll simply copy this curl command I'll go back to Lovable. Now what I want is, so let's see what we are getting if we click on create new chatbot. So the name, description, we have these fields inside our API. Upload files, it needs to be a file picker, which is fine, but it has to integrate with our API. So your prompt should be very powerful. It should be very, I mean, convincing. Like it should be very detailed. Like you are actually explaining to a, say, a fifth class child. Okay, so that the AI should understand properly what we want to achieve. Okay, so signing also work. For creating a new chatbot, please call below endpoint, below curl command. Now here comes the logic part for created by, right? So the created by should automatically be inserted as the value of the current user's email address. So whoever is right now accessing the dashboard, that particular email should be inserted inside the created by. Okay. And for files, we should have first of all actually integrated with Straico, but never mind. Let me see what we can do right now. First of all, for the created by should automatically be the value of current user's email address. Okay, so this is what we want. And yeah, I think this is what we want here. The created by should automatically be the value of current user's email address, and let's give it a response body. Again, the response is similar to this. The response to above curl command will be like below. Okay. Actually, we have to implement the Straico API key as well right now, because unless and until we use the Straico API key, the files will not be uploaded properly and it will give us some error. But let's see how it works right now. We just want to take care of this step of the creating a chatbot. We'll see how the files will be uploaded later on when we will be using the Straico API key. Let's see how it's working right now. So now it's actually integrating with our API to insert or to persist the details of a chatbot in our database. So it says it has actually implemented this. Let's go back to the web view of this chatbot. So I'm already logged in. Let me go to the dashboard. Let's create. Actually, you also do not want to see this dummy data. I'll just make this as well, but let me first create a new chatbot. Now, whatever we enter is the actual details of a real chatbot that will be stored inside our database. So I'll make this as, right now we created a test entry inside our API documentation here, right, as bot1. Now let's try as bot2, which is not there already. This is bot2 from Lovable, so as to make it more unique. So files we cannot do. I mean, even if we upload files, nothing will work because we haven't integrated Straico API key. let's see next. Okay, so I'll just click create chatbot. So it has created a chatbot, but you can see we are not getting that displayed on our dashboard because the reason I think you guys already know why we are not getting the chatbot that we just created here, because we haven't integrated the API to display or to read all the chatbots, right? So what will be the API endpoint? This is the endpoint that will show all the chatbots on our dashboard. So I think now you can figure out how you actually create an API call and make it use or make it integrated with your real time, real life applications, right? That's the use of creating the APIs, right? So you have to think out loud, right? How you want to integrate your API. So that read API should be integrated with this dashboard UI to display all our chatbots. But right now, let's see if our this chatbot that we just created is stored inside our database or not. So I'll just read this. I'll call this API endpoint to read all the chatbots. I'll try it out. Let's click execute. And there should be two entries, right? This was the first that we tested out, and this is the one that we just created, right? And the amazing part is user2@test.com. I believe it is now coming from the current user's email address automatically. If the user's email has been something else, it should have taken that value. Okay. So I think this is fine. Let's actually validate this part again. Let me go back here. Let's log out. Let's sign up again with a new user. I'll call this as new user itself. I'll call this as new email @test.com. 1 2 3 4 5 6. Just give it a dummy password. So a new user has been created. Now let's create a new chatbot as bot3. This is bot3. Next, create a chatbot. Okay, it has created. Let's go back to our API documentation. Now let's click execute again to see all the chatbots. So fine. So third ID is, so the third entry is created, and amazing part is this is new email @test.com, right? I think we are actually sorted with like properly segregating users from each other, right? So one user cannot access the data from another user. So we have actually taken care of some of the most critical points here. The chatbots are not getting created, the details are getting stored, we are getting unique IDs here, and we are getting the emails already associated with the created by here. Now the next important thing is how we can integrate with Straico API key. Okay, so if someone doesn't know, Straico is also a tool that actually lets you access all the LLM models like OpenAI's GPT-O or GPT-4o models. You can use the Claude APIs, basically Claude models like Anthropic Claude, Sonnet, and you can access the Gemini models, right? You can access the DeepSeek model. And if I just go to Straico, this is their API documentation. So for getting that, you can go to your user settings inside Straico, okay, and then you can basically access the documentation from there itself. So here you can get your Straico API key, right? So here you can get your Straico API key, or if you do not have an API key, you can create a new key, and then you have this API documentation link here. You can click this to access that API documentation, and you can go simply, you can access this page through user settings. Okay, it is available there. Now this is the Straico API key. What we are more concerned here is the RAG. Okay, so we want to create a RAG. So RAG is something where you can train the chatbot with your own files. Right now, it doesn't accept website URLs. That's why we are not using website links, but it only accepts the files. So that's why we are doing that. We are only using files. Now we have to create a RAG. So you see, it will provide us with these API calls or these curl commands to create a new RAG. So what we need is we need a name of the RAG. So RAG is nothing but in our terms, it will be a chatbot, a description, files, right? Chunking method, everything. Now, and another thing here is what we need is so this will be the response, okay, and there should be some kind of authentication as well. Yeah, this is authorization, so there should be a token, bearer token. Okay, this is where we'll insert our Straico API key. I think if we just go back to our API documentation, there should be a table called settings. Let's minimize everything here. So this is settings, right? Inside settings, we have Straico API key, right? So first of all, let's implement like how user can store their Straico API key. Let me try this out. Let's give some random value X, Y, Z, right? So I'll click on execute. And I got this curl command. This is all I wanted. I'll copy this. I go to Lovable. Now I want it to store the Straico API key. Now we want to store Straico API key, which will later be used, called Straico APIs, to create a new RAG and upload files. Use below curl command to store the Straico API key. API key, right? And how we can access the Straico API key? Where can a user enter their API key? It should be available inside settings. So it should be available inside settings tab. Okay. So this will be the API endpoint. Let's integrate this now. And once a user is now able to store their or save their Straico API key, it should be called, or when a user creates a new chatbot, then we will start making calls to these Straico API endpoints along with the Straico API key, so as to create a new RAG along with the files. Okay. Now let's see. Okay, so it has created a settings page. Now let's refresh this page again to see if the settings page is visible or not already. So now we are getting the settings page here, and here you can insert your Straico API key, right? So how cool is that? Now I can enter my API key here for Straico and it will be saved. Now let me go and copy my Straico API key and paste here. Okay, so I have saved my Straico API key, right? Now the next step here is, now we need to make calls to this API endpoint to create a new RAG or a chatbot inside Straico. So they have provided this curl command, which is very helpful. So I'll copy this. I'll go here, and it should be happening when a user creates a new chatbot. Okay, so creates a new chatbot, sure to also make below make local command as well. This will actually create a new chatbot. This will create a new rag inside Straico. Okay, so the response would be like this. Just copy this, and if you see, we are getting an ID here. This is nothing but the rag ID. Okay, this is very important in our upcoming when we are actually going to chat with the Straico chatbot. So I'll copy the entire response. The response to above curve will be like below. Okay, and just we'll let them know like this ID is nothing but the rag ID. Response is nothing but the rag ID. Okay, so and we also want to store this information, this rag ID inside our actual NoCodeBackend database as well. So we'll just make sure, please make sure this also gets saved to our CodeBackend API as well, which is also running at the same time. So let's make sure this API call to Straico runs first, then we get a rag ID, and then again a call is made to our NoCodeBackend database so as to store all these details. So first make call to Straico API, and then to NoCodeBackend API to store all the chatbot details. Let's see, I think it may impact our code or it may break our code, but we will correct those out. This is the most critical step here. We are now actually integrating with Straico. Let's see how it works. So it may be a lot of information for you guys to absorb, but I am doing nothing. I'm just simply providing the instructions as per my logic. Okay, your logic may vary, like how you want to take this up, but this is all is happening like how I want to achieve this or how I envision this, right? So let's see if it actually understand what I'm asking here or not. So it's saying it is now integrating with Straico as well as NoCodeBackend both. Requires at least one file to upload. Okay, so it is all doing something that we actually want. Now let's refresh this. And first of all, let's make sure our dashboard is actually displaying all the chatbots from our actually NoCodeBackend API itself. Right, these we do not want these dummy databases. So if I just go back to our API documentation here and to specifically search for something, a specific chatbot, So let's say we want to search all the chatbots which are actually created by, let's say, me, with a email address of, let's say, user3@test.com. So this is where it will be helpful. So we just try this out. So this endpoint search is like a filter for us. It will provide us with this filter. So these are all acting as a filters for us. What we want is we just simply want a created by, nothing else. So I'll remove everything. Okay, I just add this back. So created by, let's say, should be user2@test.com. Now this is acting as a filter. I'll click execute, and now it is providing us these two entries. So these two chatbots are created by this user, right? So this should be the actual endpoint that we should use to display all the chatbots. So this is a curl command, but here make sure the created by is replaced with the current user's email, right? This way it will display it will fetch all the chatbots created by this current user. Now just provide them with the kind of response we'll be getting. So this will be the kind of response. So this is very important to provide to Lovable, because it will help them, or it will help Lovable to provide correct code, else it may hallucinate as well. Low will be the kind of response. Right now it will understand like what we are trying to achieve and what kind of response we must be getting. So it will frame its code according to that. And I think the video is actually getting too long, but I hope it is actually useful for you guys. Actually, you must be getting some kind of information or some benefit from this video. So please, take some time to like this video and to subscribe as well. It will actually help us as well. It motivates us to create more videos in the future. Anyway, it has, I think it was quite fast. So it has integrated everything. Now let's refresh this, and we should not be seeing these dummy placeholders. We should be seeing real chatbots that we created. So this is really amazing, right? So we are now getting the chatbots from the database, and only those created by us, okay, created by this user, right? This is the bot name, this is the date of the creation, and this is the description of the chatbot. Right now it is displaying a dummy value, 1 file, 0 files, okay, but it will all be corrected. Okay, so we'll all fix this minor issues as well when we actually start uploading the files. Right now let's create a new chatbot, and if you remember, we integrated Straico as well, and let's see if it is working as per what we thought or not. So Chatbot, give some random name, upload the same file to see if it works out or not. Hit create chatbot, and let's see if it works or not. Awesome. So our chatbot has been created successfully. So now this is awesome, right? Charizard is the chatbot. If I click on manage, there's no ph created to manage, but yeah. So what we have achieved so far is we're able to successfully create the chatbot as well, and it is actually creating the chatbot inside Straico as well. Okay, now how we can go on and chat with this particular chatbot, right? So now if we go to Straico API documentation, there is this endpoint called a stack prompt completion. If we go to this particular endpoint, we can provide a prompt. This is nothing but the message sent by the user and we'll get a response. Okay, and we also need to mention the model as well inside our request. Okay, so let's use this particular, let's copy this curl command and let's go to Lovable and let's ask it. Now it works. Also create a tab or an area inside a chatbot to chat with that particular chatbot, right? It should be a neat and professional looking chat box where the user can chat with the chatbot. Run the below curl command when a user sends a message, right? Sends a question or a message, whatever you want to call it, right? And you can use any model. So if I go here, it is asking for the model as well, Anthropic. It is by default choosing Anthropic, but if you go to this particular model information, we'll get list of all the models here, right? So you can choose any model that you want, but let's keep it default as Anthropic Claude 3. I mean, whatever the model is, I think 3.5 Sonnet, right? Also, make sure it keeps the authentication authorization as the bearer token, and it keeps using that same Straico API key. Okay. Also, make sure to keep the authorization as is for the Straico API key. Okay, the response will be like, so what could be the response type? So if I go here, below is the response. So this will be the response, and what we need to display on the chatbot side is to the end user. So this is a response. We want to display this answer, right? So we want to simply display this answer which is inside this data, right? So we'll simply call it as simply display the answer from the data object. Let's see how it works out here. All right, so I think it has implemented the changes. Let's go back here and let's refresh this page and see if we are getting any kind of chat interface or not. So we are getting the chat option here now. So let's say for Charizard, if we click on chat, we should get a chat interface. Awesome, this is very amazing. This looks really good. So we are now getting a chat interface and we are getting this welcome message, though this is a custom message which is provided by this chatbot builder itself. This is not our message, but we can customize this as well. Like whatever message we want to display, we can do that very easily. Now let's see if it actually works or not with our Straico API key. So if I just say hi, this is really great. I can help you with the questions from the bundle. So this is the data. This bundle is the data which is provided inside this file that we uploaded. Okay. So this file actually contains that data. I go back to the chat, right? So let's start chatting with again. Uh, what's the data provided? Or let's say provide us insights. Provide us with the key insights. So data is related to the bundle. Bundle is another application, uh, and it should provide details regarding bundle. This is really awesome. So we actually implemented a full stack chatbot builder tool with the help of NoCodeBackend and Lovable. And there's no need to provide your OpenAI API key. We are simply integrating directly with Straico. So if you already have a Straico account or Straico API key, you can now go on and use any kind of model you want to use, right? So I think this is really awesome. So yeah, I mean there are still a lot of features or a lot of improvements still needed, but you got the idea here, right? I mean we have implemented a full stack app here. So new user can register. We have an authentication system in hand. So a user can create their chatbots. They can delete the chatbot, though we have still not implemented the delete feature. This is nothing but we simply need to integrate it with the delete endpoint. So if I scroll down, so you will see this delete, right? To delete a particular chatbot, we simply need to integrate this and it will all work fine for the deletion as well. And chat is all working fine, though our chat history is all gone because we are not actually saving any kind of chat history, right? So what you can do is you can go and you can create another table inside NoCodeBackend with a table called, let's say, messages or chat history, and you can go on and start storing your chats there, and you can display all the chats here as well, or you can create another section to display the previous chat history. But I think this is really awesome. Let's try creating a new chatbot here. So I'll create a new chatbot called, let's say, finance bot. Some random text here. Now let's upload some heavy files. So I have this book called 100 million offers. I think this is the book name. And let's create a chatbot here. So I think this is by default it's displaying like the file should be 10 MB each, but we have to make sure like what's the capacity of Straico API key, right? What's the max file size? So I think it is 25 MB per file, so it should not be a problem here. But yeah, right now it's uploading the file to Straico, and Straico is actually processing this particular document at their end. Okay. Alrighty, so our finance bot has been created. Let's try chatting with it. And again, we'll ask it like to provide the key insights. Let's say if it actually fetching the details from our uploaded PDF or not. I mean, this is crazy, right? This is crazy. So, I mean, this is from the PDF from the book that we just uploaded, right? The 100 million offers book that we just uploaded. This is the data from that. High value offers, right? I mean, this is crazy, right? You have now your own chatbot building solution. So, and you can go on and you can start customizing it to the level that you want is something production ready or an MVP for you. But for me, this is an MVP. I am able to register a new user. I'm able to sign in. I'm able to create a new chatbot. I'm able to store the details of the chatbot. And I'm able to actually train the chatbot with my own files. You can go on, you can customize this to, uh, let's say, save the chat history, right? You can display the past history, you can customize the UI, you can make it more beautiful if you want. So I think this is all, I mean, that I wanted to cover. This will really help you out with creating any kind of applications that you want to create using NoCodeBackend, and with any other tools with which you want to integrate NoCodeBackend as your database. So now you will actually understand how powerful NoCodeBackend is when you get straightforward APIs from NoCodeBackend. Right? You do not have to go inside any kind of MySQL or Postgres or let's say Supabase or MongoDB. No technical stuff here. You simply need the API keys and just let Bolt or Lovable understand what you want to do, and they will create the entire UI and integrations for you here. So I think this is really great, and we have actually went through everything that Straico provides. We are able to create our own chatbots, which is powered by Straico API key now, right? So I think this is really awesome here. This is a full-blown SaaS application. You get a landing page here, right? We are getting a features. You can create more pages, right? You can create your own pricing page. There is an authentication system. I can log out, right? I can sign up, I can sign in. Let's sign up with another user and see if we are not able to access other users' chatbots or details. So let's say my name is Pikachu, pika@test.com, password 1234556. I'll create the account here. So this is awesome. There are no chatbots because this user is new and it hasn't created any chatbots yet. So settings, you will see there is no API key provided for Straico. So you can provide your own API key, right? And then inside dashboard, you can go on and start creating your new chatbot here, right? So this is how you can create your own applications. I think I may go ahead and I may customize this entire solution again. And who knows, I may start selling this application, or I can start listing this application to some marketplaces, right? I can sell this as a lifetime deal to my users as well. This is a full-blown application, right? I have my database sorted. I simply need to take this code from Lovable, and I simply need to export this code from GitHub or anywhere, and I can host this on, let's say, Vercel, or let's say on my own server, on, let's say, on any hosting provider that you have, right? It can be Hetzner, it can be AWS, it can be any kind of hosting solution that you have. You can upload that there. So this was all from this tutorial. So I hope this was helpful to you. In case you have any questions, please let us know and we'll try to answer those questions as soon as we can. But the main objective here was to, let you know how to think logically. So I hope it was helpful, and again, thanks a lot and take care. See you next time.